everyone, and welcome to Retrocore, where we take a time out from the 2000s and head back to the 80s and 90s. So, I was born in 1981, and I graduated high school in 1999, so I feel like I really got the best of the 80s as a kid and the 90s as a preteen teen. So what I wanted to do today is go back and look at a photo from each year from 1981 to 1999 and give you my thoughts on it. These are going to be pop culture or just nostalgic photos that might just stir up some of your own memories. So let's take a look. Okay, 1981. This is a car seat for a baby, which I would have been in, and I'm pretty sure I have pictures of myself in this car seat. So I think that maybe the baby came from this van. I don't know. Looks like it could have been. So funny story. I was in this car seat and my mom wanted to go get a pack of smokes. So she called my godmother. She said, "Hey, I'm running up to the corner store and getting some smokes. I'm going to put the phone next to the baby. If you hear anything crazy, call the police." So that's who my babysitter was when my mom went up and got smokes. Sounds very 80s to me. 1982. This is a teether, and it is definitely the teether that I had. I feel like this hung around a lot longer than when I was just teething, but yeah, 1982 would have been when this was probably purchased for me. I love the primary colors in here, and I remember kind of spinning around those little oval things and using this for many years afterwards. This doll, I had this doll. Okay, so this was way more than a doll. It actually taught you a lot of useful skills. So you have the tie on the shoe, a buckle, a zipper, a button, and some kind of like pocket thing there. I can't figure out what that is. But I remember it being kind of like a parachute-y material and very, very soft. And even though I don't like clowns now, back then I did. And this clown is actually looking pretty happy. So I'm okay with it. But I feel like I saw this in a lot of people's houses. But I don't see it like much now brought up as a pop culture thing. But I pretty sure like I wore the button off of this. That zipper probably fell off. I did this so many times, just keeping myself busy. Okay, 1984. So this was actually a whole series of records, and they were made for kids. And it says you can see the pictures, hear the story, and read the book. So it came with the book, and I'm pretty sure it said like turn the page on the record as you went, so you could see everything, but it would read the story to you, which was really cool. Especially if, our parents weren't really around that much to read to us or whatever then. You had like a whole entertainment thing in here for you. And there were so many more of these, but this On Vacation one with like the bears and the rabbits playing in the sand, I distinctly remember this one. 1985, a tent that went over your bed. These were so cool. They were a fitted sheet, and then you stuck the plastic tent poles in and it popped right up. So you had like a bed sheet with a tent over it. It was so cool. I actually found this picture of my little sister poking her head out of our tent bed that we had when I was little. The only downside to these were that you would sweat so bad in them overnight, because I like to keep mine closed up and pretend I was in a fort and nobody could see me and no monsters could get me, but I sweat a lot. Only downfall. But these were such a great idea. 1986 Flash Match. So this is a VCR game. It came out in 86, but I played it when I was a little bit older. And it was a great babysitter for us because we could watch this thing for hours and play this game. And basically what it is there's a host and then there's different rounds and the music goes at different paces and like random photos of like cats with fish in a bowl and sports cars and flashy things like that show up on the screen. Then at the end of the round, you have to try to remember if one of the cards that you have in front of you was actually a match with that round, but you could also bluff. So that's where the chips come in. So if you saw somebody put down one that you don't remember being in there, you could be like, hey, that wasn't in there. And then there was a book that you could check and make sure for that round what was in there. And then you would get chips from them. So basically it was a memory game. And oh my God, as it went on in rounds, it got so fast. It would actually get like anxiety ridden fast and you get so frustrated and like, but it was really, really fun. And after a while of playing it, you got a little bit better memory of what was in there because you'd seen it so many times. But this definitely gave us lots of fun. 1987, I swore that these were a snack. I never heard anybody talking about these things. And for years, I was asking, you remember the cookies with the smiley faces on them? And nobody could remember them. Except my sister. Finally, she was like, yeah, I remember those things. We had no clue what the names of them were. And one day I saw a random picture and I'm like, holy crap, that's it. They're giggles. I freaking loved these things. I remember going to the grocery store and begging for them. I didn't always get them because they were kind of expensive, but they were the best of their time. I didn't even realize that they had two kinds of cream in each funny face. I just remember the vanilla and just loving the vanilla of these. I am so sad that they're gone forever. 1988, one of the many strings of McDonald's Happy Meal toys that were at their peak in the 80s. These in particular, though, I never see them anywhere, so it really stuck out at me when I saw this picture. These are the Fraggles, and they're each in their own little, like, Fraggle vehicle. I love these things. I had these for so long saved and I don't know where they are anymore. And I'm so sad. But like I realize now looking at this, and I actually just realized it right now, they're all in a little vehicle that's a food item. So eggplant, a carrot, a watermelon. I don't know what that other thing is. It's like red, but it's got white on it. I don't know what that thing is that the red Fraggles in. But these were so cool. Okay, 1989. No, not you, Taylor Swift. This game is Excite Bike for Nintendo. Okay, it didn't come out in 1989. It came out in 1984, but I played it a lot in 1989. I was 8 years old. I loved this game. It's a racing game. You have to go over jumps and you have to get like a time that's good. You can't overheat. You have to get like a first, second, or third place to move on to the bigger racing arenas. And after a while, when you did the same ones over and over and over again, you knew like each jump by heart and when to like put the front end down so that you would land just right. And then the temp down there, you see that? That was like awful because you couldn't even get that sucker to 3/4 red or you were in trouble. As the second that you overheated, it pulled your bike over and you had to wait and wait and wait. And then meanwhile, everybody was just freaking passing you like crazy and you're like so frustrated. So you had to pull the throttle back as soon as you start getting up to 3/4. And it was exciting. Excite Bike was very exciting. I loved this game and I wish I could still play it again today. I think it's kind of hard to find. It's not one of the more well-known ones, but it was definitely heavily played in my house. 1990, I have such vivid memories of this as a kid. I didn't know it was called Magican or whatever. All I remember is that there was a period of time where Coca-Cola had money that popped up at you. And I mean, my whole family drank Coca-Cola cans. Like that was like water in our family. Okay. So we went camping all the time. And I just have this vivid memory of going camping and we had tons of Coke cans in the cooler. And this actually only happened for 1 month. It was May of 1990, which is crazy to me because I feel like it went on and on forever. That's how much of a memory it is in my head. Okay. So as a kid, I'm over here like realizing that the ones that have money in them feel a little different when you pick them up. So I'm digging through the cooler, just trying to like weigh them in my hand, go like up and down with them. You know, I mean, I was obnoxious with this whole thing, just totally wanting this money. So I would, you know, oh, I'm so thirsty. Go over, you know, pop a Coke. And then when you didn't get anything, it was like, oh, God. And then you kind of like nonchalantly not drink the Coke and go over for another one until you got yelled at and they realized what was happening and what was going on. But I literally remember like winning on this quite a few times and like family members winning on this. What an awesome, cool thing that probably choked a lot of people when they went to go drink their soda. And I think it actually did hurt somebody. I saw in the news. But whatever. I mean, genius marketing on the part of Coca-Cola because all I wanted to do for that whole month was buy Coke. It was like a Willy Wonka's golden ticket. 1991, the film Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken came out. I watched this so many times, I cannot even tell you. And I don't feel like a lot of people that I knew anyway saw this movie because whenever I would say like, oh, remember the movie with the girl, like with the jumping horse that jumped into the water? Nobody would know what the heck I was talking about. And I finally found the name of it because it took me forever. Now, this is actually a true story, which I don't even think I knew as a kid. I loved the actress in this. I loved everything about this movie because I was obsessed with horses when I was younger. But also, when I went on vacation once, there was a theme park that actually had a horse that dove into the water like this. And unless it's one of those things where your mind blurs lines and you watch a movie so many times that you think it actually happened in real life, but I swear that there was a place like this in New Hampshire, and it shut down when I was a kid. But I thought I remembered this. If anybody remembers a place in New Hampshire with a diving horse, please put it in the comments and let me know so I don't think that I am totally nuts. But awesome movie. Okay, the 1992 Royal Rumble, known as the best Royal Rumble in WWF history. The Royal Rumble was always my favorite event, and I was obsessed with WWF along with my entire family. I mean, we went to the live events, had all the merch, everything. This was a big deal to watch the Royal Rumble on pay-per-view, expensive. Everybody came over to our house and watched it together. So looking at this Royal Rumble, I see so many familiar faces in here. I mean, Undertaker, he lasted forever. Of course, everybody knows Hulk Hogan. We see Randy Macho Man Savage. I got Roddy Piper in here, Big Boss Man, Jake the Snake Roberts. I see so many in there. I can't go on forever. Okay. But this Royal Rumble, Ric Flair won. Do you know how upset I was that Ric Flair won? I mean, I was like beside myself because I was so upset. I mean, I was a huge Hulkamaniac at this point. I mean, actually, like most of the people in this picture, I would have been happy if they won. But Ric Flair, I was just so upset. And I think in this one too, I didn't go back and watch it. He was like number one or number two in the Royal Rumble. So he lasted like the entire time. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But I just remember he lasted for a wicked long time. And it was so exciting when they would like make the noise and you knew somebody else was coming out and like everybody would be like looking like, oh my God, who's coming out next? It was just so exciting and it kept you on the edge of your seat. And I just love the Royal Rumble. Okay, now I'm realizing that I'm probably going to have to do an entire video dedicated to the 80s and 90s WWF. So probably look for that in the future. 1993. If you look at this picture and don't automatically hear the song, I feel like chicken tonight, then I have a feeling there's something wrong with you because that is one of the catchiest advertising jingles I've ever heard. And I feel like it was stuck in my head for so long. Even this many years later, I could still walk around clucking my arms singing Chicken Tonight. I was never privileged enough to have one of these Chicken Tonight creams or whatever they are, but I guess they were supposed to like go over the chicken meals that you were having and there was all kinds of flavors. I feel like my chicken dinner consisted of like, I don't know, a chicken breast thrown on a plate that was mostly dry and flavorless. So unfortunately, never got Chicken Tonight, but I'll always have the song. 1994, Looney Tunes jelly jars. And we use these as glasses in the cabinet. Always. And for some reason, we kept our glasses upside down. I don't know if that's still a thing, but anyways, that's how we stored our glasses in the cabinets. So These were really fun because you would go to the grocery store and you would pick out the jelly kind of based off of what characters you still needed to get in the series. These were nice, sturdy glasses. They were really fun to look at. And we had so many of these. Just looking at this picture, I can remember that Sylvester and Tweety, that face looking at me a lot. So I know we had that one. But yeah, today's kids will never know the joys of drinking Coke out of a glass jelly jar. 1995, this is the year that Silverchair released their album Frog Stomp. And most of you probably know the hit song from this, Tomorrow. They are an Australian band and they did really, really well with that song over here in the United States as well. So this band is probably very forgettable for many people. However, for me, it was my band of the mid-90s. I absolutely loved Silverchair. I was obsessed with Daniel Johns. And a little story, I went and saw them at a local concert venue near me. And at the end of the concert, I waited until their tour bus came and I watched them get on it and I chased the tour bus down the road and they opened up their windows and looked out and actually waved at me. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was probably one of the biggest highlights of my teen years. If you have not checked out any other Silverchair music, I highly recommend the rest of their albums. Too many good songs on them to count. And a lot of the lesser known songs are actually the better songs. 1996, these sandals. I had these sandals and I know a lot of other teens did as well. I actually had to look up what the names of them were and I had no idea they were actually this famous. They're the fisherman sandal from Doc Martin. And I feel like I don't remember buying these sandals because they would have been way too expensive for me to buy by myself. But I might have gotten them slightly secondhand and they were not comfortable whatsoever. They were so heavy and clunky on my feet. And the leather, it must be, at the top was just made my feet sweat up there. And I was not a fan of these whatsoever, but they went really good with like my grunge outfits and things like that in the summer. So I wore the sandal, wicked popular. When I saw this picture, it sparked a memory, but they were not comfy sandals according to moi. 1997 Summer Delia's catalog. I looked forward to getting this in the mail so much. So seeing this page, do you see how this person circled things up in the upper right corner? That was me. I circled every single thing through this. I went back and rethought my decisions. Is this really what I want to get? And I didn't get anything because they were way too expensive and I didn't have this kind of money, but I envisioned myself as a Delia's girl. Never came to fruition, although if you look at top A that's circled, I did have something like that, very, very close, but it was not Delia's approved, I'm sure. 1998, I was driving, I had my own set of wheels, and I had this stereo system. Okay, so I had a 1985 Honda Accord as my first car. I got it for free. And of course, it was an old radio. So I upgraded to a new radio that had a CD player in it. And the only problem is I lived in a big city and there was a lot of people stole these CD player stereos, okay? So they came out with this thing where you could remove the faceplate so that the stereo was totally useless if anybody went to try to steal it. Genius idea. Went out of fashion pretty quickly, maybe within like 5 years, nobody really had these anymore. But look at this CD case. I had this CD case. I think it held over like 100 CDs. This was also a high theft item. So whenever I left my car, I took this with me because I knew people that literally had their CD cases like this stolen out of their cars. So yeah, high crime, CDs, and CD car radios. Got to keep those locked up. 1999, I graduated high school. Yes, I was so excited to be finally free of that place. I hated high school. But this is the typical picture of where they had all the seniors come out into like the front of the school, and they didn't have drones back then. So I can't exactly remember how this photo was taken, but they had us all look up at the same time and say cheese. And we had it planned, my friends and I, that we were going to purposely not look up and we were going to look down. And I am right here. So you can see I timed it pretty well with my friends around me. And this was just so that we were not going to be like everybody else. It pretty much summed up my entire high school experience. That look, that face, looking down. That was me in high school. But yeah, such a great time to have been a teenager. Such a great time to have been a kid through the 80s. And even though my high school years were pretty sullen and grungy and, not the best. Looking back, I'm glad that they happened in the 90s.